Demon Slayer is one of, if not the most popular anime going on right now as of 2025. And as y'all know, it's what kickstarted my channel. I'm obviously a huge fan. Now recently we've been making a lot of Demon Slayer videos, and today we're going to continue that theme, as you could tell from the thumbnail and title. Now my last video was taking all the Hashira and turning them into demons, and as I stated in that video, this video is going to be taking the current demons and turning them into Hashiras, that being the upper ranks, Muzan, and of course some honorable mentions. Now, how we pretty typically always do these videos, and like I did with my last video, I'm going to segregate this video into 3 different portions, kind of like last video, except this video, number 1 will be what will the demon's breathing style be. Now this could be taking their current blood demon art and turning that into a breathing style, looking at the demon and trying to match them up with a already existing breathing style, or not even their ability, maybe their personality, and creating a brand new one for them. And then number 2 was which weapon would they have or use. Not every Demon Slayer uses a Nichiren sword, like Tengu uses cleavers, Tengen uses cleavers, Gyomei uses his ball and chain, Inosuke uses his serrated blades, so on and so forth. And then the last point, number 3, what kind of quirks would they have? Like what kind of unique things outside of their abilities would they have going on that can maybe represent their personality, make them a bit more interesting. So with all that being said, if you're ready to get into this video just as much as I am, then make sure to like, comment, subscribe to join GLD, and to let me know you like the content. And since you like the content, you might as well turn on post notifications so you don't miss the content that you literally liked. And last but not least, tell a friend or family member. It could be anybody. It could be your brother, sister, niece, nephew, son, daughter, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, granddad. As I mentioned before I go on with the upper ranks, including Muzan, I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions. And since the upper ranks, including Muzan, is 7, I'll have 2 honorable mentions so that it could, represent the 9 Hashira. So the 2 honorable mentions are Enmu and Rui. And the reason I chose those 2, because I think those 2 characters are a little bit more interesting in pertaining to this video specifically. Because I was also thinking of doing Kaigaku, but I mean, look at him. Need I say more? We already know about him. And then Kyogai would obviously just be sound breathing because, the drums. And I thought about Swamp Demon, but who cares? That's literally the first demon, and it would just be water breathing or something. And there's other demons out there, but come on. Enmu and Rui are most important. So I'm going to kind of speed run these, if you will. Enmu I had to think about it a little bit because I was thinking, okay, well, he puts people to sleep and then controls their dreams. What would that be, right? How would I be able to replicate that through the breathing styles? Because you have to remember, the breathing styles are purely physical. There's nothing conceptually abstract about them, right? Like, for example, love breathing. Love breathing doesn't make you fall in love with the user every time you get hit by it. No. If that would be the case, Hantengu would have been packed up like that, right? But no. Well, I guess Zohakutin / Hantengu didn't find her attractive, but you get what I'm saying. The breathing styles just replicate the pattern of which they're fighting in. Like water breathing is more like all in the wrist and maneuverability and adaptable, flexible, things like that. It's not like, oh my god, water. Like I get hit by water and I start having like a philosophical, like no. Okay, they're just purely physical. So with that being said, I think Enmu would work somewhat perfectly with mist breathing, simply just because of the whole dreamscape aspect of it. And Enmu doesn't fight, like at least not physically, right? Like he usually has, his eyeballs or like his little grotesque arm things, but he doesn't do hand-to-hand combat. So I think mist breathing works because he can hide in the mist and attack without having to worry about being attacked. You know what I mean? He can play purely defensive like how he always does, right? So I think it works for him. And then let's go ahead and switch over to Rui. Now Rui, I had to think about it because Rui manipulates strings, right, that are made out of his blood, right? Silent strings, you can't hear them, they're nigh invisible, so you can't see them either, right? You don't even know they're there, you can't sense them, things like that. I guess Tanjiro can smell them. So I got to thinking, I don't really want to create a string breathing because that just kind of sounds corny and kind of dumb to me. What would that even mean? Like the opening thread. I mean, I guess so. But I mean that already exists. It's called the opening thread, and that's not a specific breathing style. Like he could just see the opening thread better. Like every time he gets into a fight, he can immediately just opening thread. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually thinking of doing sound breathing. Now I know what you're thinking. Look at Tengen, gang. Sound breathing isn't just about the loudness and the fireworks. Obviously, Tengen is also very quiet. You can't even tell he's there, and we've seen that, right? Because of his he has a mastery over his own sounds. Also, one of the sound breathing forms is called string performance. So I think it just fits. I mean, I think he'd be like really quiet with it, right? Obviously, like basically he would just sneak every demon, right? And then that can lead to the opening thread, right? So it essentially be string breathing. Like a demon could be wandering around and can't sense Rui. All of a sudden they have a freaking string in their neck and they didn't even know it. They can't sense it. They can't feel it, whatever. I guess unless they're Tundra, they can smell it. Yeah, I think it works for Rui because it doesn't have to be loud. It can be quiet too. Now moving on to the real list, right? We're starting off with Muzan Kibutsuji, aka the worst villain in all anime history. So Muzan gave me a hard time because if you don't know, and I've explained this in a previous video when I explained all the blood demon arts, Muzan's blood demon art is called biokinesis. Basically, he can manipulate his body himself. He can manipulate himself on a molecular level, right? And so with that being said, how am I supposed to replicate that in existing breathing style? And even so, what if I call it bio breathing? So then I started thinking and I narrowed it down to two viable options. Either A, go with sun breathing, and I know what you're thinking. What? That's like his mortal enemy is sun breathing. Exactly. Because what is Muzan's ultimate goal in the end? What is he trying to accomplish? He calls it conquering the sun, right? And so I think him being a human and him having sun breathing now is kind of like, you know, like it's kind of like a full circle kind of thing, right? It's kind of a narrative. It's just narratively sound to me, right? It represents him finally conquering the sun, right? Because he's trying to eat Nezuko. Basically, he's trying to be a human, but with demon powers, essentially. And also, it ties into the whole like Kamado family thing because he's the one been wiping out Sunbreath. He's the one that almost died to Yurichi. He's the one that almost died to Tanjiro, you know, and he's trying to eat Nezuko. He's the reason sun breathing keeps getting passed down and down and down. And he's the one that personally attacked the Tanjiro family after Tanjiro's dad, Tanjiro, died, because then he was able to, you know, seize his opportunity. Then my other idea was something like Kimimaro from Naruto, bone breathing, which it sounds hard. I mean, at least I like the I like the anagram. I think that's what it's called when it's like alliteration. I think that's what it's called. Not anagram. I think it's alliteration. Anyways, bone breathing, B&B, like it just sounds nice. Okay, so bone breathing, which would be because he really just uses his bones as his weapons, right? Like his bones are his swords. So with bone breathing, I'd probably have it to where it's similar to stone breathing. It's more just about like durability and strength. Like perhaps he's just stronger than average. Maybe he like dual wield swords, but they're like kind of more curved, right? Kind of like his bones. At least the bones he uses, they're kind of like curved spikes. And obviously he can't actually use his bones because demon slayers can't do that. They'll die, right? I want to stay true to the actual breathing styles. So they're just physical and that they're not going around actually like humans can't use their own body as weapons. Like they can't do that in the demon slayer verse. So I'll make it perhaps more like stone breathing, where it's kind of just more like really physical. Like you're not obviously literally using your bones. You're just perhaps durability and strength. Maybe he's just really strong, and so it's like I don't know. I kind of like the sun breathing more. I think it just fits more narratively, even if it doesn't really make any sense. It's kind of cool. There's a narrative behind it. Okay, let's just move on to something more simple. Obviously, next up we have Upper Moon 1, which is, of course, Kokushibo, or in his human form, Mitsukatsu Sugikuni. Obviously, the brother of Yurichi, and his blood demon art is called Crescent Moon Blades, aka moon breathing, in contrast to his brother Yurichi having sun breathing. So his blood demon art his breathing style would just be moon breathing, and he'd have the same sword. I mean, it's literally right there. I mean, need I really say more? I mean, it has 16 forms, 3 more than sun breathing. Basically, the way moon breathing works, I've stated multiple times before, every time he slashes, it creates a crescent moon shaped slash along with multiple varied sized crescent moon slashes towards the opponent. And so you're not just getting hit by one slash, you're getting hit by like freaking 50. So yeah. Doma. Now, Doma, obviously very simple. Okay, he has cryokinesis. That's what his blood demon art is called. So he'd have something like cryo breathing, ice breathing, frost breathing. Simple. Okay, I don't even really need to explain it. It's like ice. It's ice, gang. Maybe it can be a splinter of water breathing. And I'm not gonna go too much into detail of what their current blood demon art is. Like with my last video, I didn't go that too in depth with what the breathing styles are because I have 2 videos. One where I explain all the breathing styles, styles, and one where I explain all the blood demon art. So go watch those if you want more details. But yeah, Doma would obviously have something called like frost breathing, cryo breathing, ice breathing, so on and so forth. And I forgot to mention, I'm so stupid, I forgot to mention the weapon and the core. So for Muzan, his weapon, well, I already kind of mentioned them. So for Doma's weapon, well, he currently uses a fan, right? A fan, and he uses he swipes the fan, and then like ice sprays out in the path that the fan is fanning in. And so I'm gonna just do the same thing, a fan, but it's like a steel fan. But I guess it already is still. Okay, so now moving on to Akaza, a fan favorite. Our favorite basketball. Akaza is also interesting because he doesn't use weapons, and his blood demon art is called Destructive Death. Basically, it's the battle compass, right? So anything in his vicinity, he can sense it. Kind of like a Spidey sense or danger sense from My Hero, right? So it's not very like breathing style friendly, if that makes sense. But in my last video where I turned the Hashiras into demons, I stated that Gyokko would probably have a blood demon art that was similar to what Akaza's is. All about the senses, because he's blind, and so he relies on vibrations and echolocation and things like that. So for Akaza, honestly, I'd probably just give him stone breathing, right? Where obviously, like I mentioned before, he has the battle sense, so like he can sense, he's very familiar with his surroundings and the earth around him, right? And you're probably thinking, well, but he doesn't use a ball and chain. Well, actually, you don't actually need to have a ball and chain with stone breathing. If anything, it's all about the chain, but you don't actually need to have a ball and chain, right? Also, if you notice, another similarity that Akaza and Gyokko has is they both have these Buddhist prayer beads, and these can act like a chain, right? Because even Gyokko uses them in battle at times, not really as a chain, but he uses them in his battles as part of his arsenal. So, and Akaza wears these around his ankles. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe, so it's stone breathing, but maybe he wears them around his ankles and he moves his feet, because as we see, he likes to jump up in the air and kick while mid-air. So I'm thinking, while he has these around his ankles, he can jump up and like wrap it around his opponent, and then boom, like he could be like a MMA kickboxer, if you know what I mean. I don't even know if those two things go together, but you know what I'm saying. All right, so stone breathing for Akaza, I think it makes sense. Now I was also thinking of beast breathing, simply just because of the whole spatial awareness form, but that's kind of the only thing I have for beast breathing, because Akaza isn't very beastly. Beast breathing is a splinter of wind breathing, so it's essentially wind breathing, but like it's more beastly, more unpredictable, which Akaza isn't really like that because he's a martial artist, so he's very like disciplined. So I don't think it really works. I think Akaza and Gyokko are kind of mirrors of each other in a certain way. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and move on to number 4, Hantengu. I ain't gonna lie, kind of gave me a headache when I had to first think about how I would do this, because as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, blood demon art video, he has all types of hacks. I think he has like between 7 and 9 different type of hacks, right? And all of his hacks are based on the emotions that have different elements. So at first I was thinking, okay, what would I use? Like emotion breathing? Like I can't, like, what would that even do? Like, based on the move, he's like, okay, when he's angry, it's more like violent and abrasive attacks. When he's sad, it's more defensive attacks. When he's excited or, you know, joyous, he has more like unpredictable attacks, right? And I was like, nah, I don't really want to do that. I mean, I could do that, but like, what? I don't know. I it's kind of just boring. It's kind of like right there in your face. I don't know. I personally just don't want to do it. I mean, it makes sense. You could do it, but I just personally don't want to. Okay. So I started thinking, okay, well, he has the elements, but there are different types of elements. Like he has electrokinesis, right? He has aerokinesis, you know, so thunder breathing, wind breathing. I can't just do one or the other. He has wood manipulation. He both think he Hashirama Senju. So then I started thinking, like, okay, what about elemental breathing? The way I'm thinking about it is that with elemental breathing, he can have something like it's one breathing style, but each form is a different element, right? Each of those elements can represent his emotion. So maybe flame breathing, he can have one move that's flame breathing that represents anger, because flame breathing is kendo, it's based off kendo, large, abrasive, violent slashes that burn your opponent, right? Maybe he can have like water breathing for sadness, or mist for sadness or sorrow, because it's more defensive and like hiding and like, I'm sad, leave me alone, I'm in a corner, right? Or fear can be mist breathing, sadness can be water breathing, pleasure is wind breathing, right? Like with, you know, because he has the fan. Joy is sound breathing, right? Because he screeches. He's like, ah, he's like, mustard, and then, you know, Tanjiro dies. And then of course hatred could be wood breathing, earth, wood breathing, tree breathing, so on and so forth. You get it. And so I think it would be called elemental breathing. In each form is a different element based on the breathing styles that represent his emotions. So like when he's feeling some type of way, that's the form he uses right in that moment. That's kind of a fire idea, ain't gonna lie. I think I kind of cooked a little bit. What you think? I know that sounds a bit kind of OP and cracked, so to make it a little bit uncracked, I propose that each form isn't gonna be like as maybe mastered or powerful as someone that is a master at that one specific form. Like for example, Gyu's the water Hashira. He's a master at water breathing, right? His master over water breathing wouldn't be as good as someone who's specifically all about water breathing, because he's a jack of all trades. So he has like one of everything, but he's not a master of each specific thing. So therefore, to make him a little bit less OP, I think I did a pretty good job there. And ain't gonna lie, kind of pat myself in the back. Let me know in the comments what you think. Moving on to another easy one, Gyokko. Number 5, water breathing. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thunk? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Gyokko would be water breathing. I mean, look at him. I mean, we all like, he literally with the pots and then the water. Kamehameha. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, he literally has a Kisame water prison. I mean, I think it's like right there. He literally has hydrokinesis as his blood demon art. I don't know how you can make an argument for it being any other breathing form. Oh, and for Hantengu, I kind of completely forgot about I keep forgetting about the goddamn weapons. I don't know why. But for Hantengu's weapon, I think to make it kind of interesting is that he can have a different weapon for each form, if that makes sense. So for example, maybe flame breathing would be a sword, because kendo. Anyways. And so for Gyokko, instead of being a pot, I still want to have some type of like continuity between the demons, Hashiras, blood demon arts, and the breathing styles. Instead of a pot, it'll be a vase, you know, like a water bearer, you know, like the zodiac sign, the Aquarius, because he comes out the pot like a genie in a bottle, right? So he'd have a vase, and he'd be able to like water breathe. He'd be able to like have it, and he'd like have it in his hand, or like carry it on his waist, or like on his back like a gore, like Gara, and he'll be like, ha, water breathing, first form, striking tide, or water surface slash. I think that'd be pretty sick. I mean, I don't know what about y'all. And quirks, I mean, look at him. Do I even need to say anything for quirks? Look at his freaking face. Now, finally, we're at Gyutaro and Daki, right? Now, Gyutaro is going to be a bit more interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with Daki, right? At first, I was just going to do Gyutaro, but I want to do both. That's part of their quirk, okay? They 2 peas in a pod. That's not how that saying goes. You can't have one without the other. So for Daki, I was thinking something simple like flower breathing or love breathing, because she's a flowery girl. She's supposed to be the prettiest girl in the town, in the village. She likes to be all dressed up, obviously as her job as an oiran. Flower breathing has very beautiful like movements. Flower breathing's forms, like the attacks, are in the shape of a blossoming flower, the petals going outwards and things like that. And then with love breathing is all about flexibility. So I was thinking more so about the belt, right? So flower breathing for the personality per se, love breathing for her actual fighting, right? Like with the belt manipulation, all flexible and moving around, like love breathing. That's that for Daki. Flower breathing, love breathing, you can pick or choose. Ball in your court, muff. Gyutaro, I had a really hard time. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, because I was like, what could I possibly do? I mean, I could do sound breathing. I mean, the sides, they fought each other, but that's just too simple. That's just too like, I just feel like that's a cop-out answer, right? I want to think a little bit deeper. Okay, let's think. What are his abilities? Okay, he has a scythe, he has the sickles. I mean, not the scythe, sickles, which he can keep. So I started thinking like, what his blood demon art is called hemokinesis, which is blood manipulation. And so I started referring back to like Muzan, right, with bone breathing, and I was like, how about blood breathing? Now I know what you're thinking. How? You like you said before, you can't, and we all know demon slayers, humans, can't manipulate their blood, can't manipulate their bones. Now, hold on a minute, because what if they can though? Maybe not their bones, but their blood though. I mean, think about it. Inosuke. What can Inosuke do? Think about what Inosuke did in his fight with Gyutaro. He manipulated his own inner organs to dodge the fatal attack. Right. So I'm thinking, okay, and now what does Tsunemi do? Anime only watchers, you probably don't know, but manga readers, what does Tsunemi do? Well, Tsunemi, if you don't know, every time he flexes, he can close his own wounds. Right, so when Sanemi is stated to be so strong by Kokushibo that he can literally stitch his own wounds together simply by flexing. So I'm thinking, okay, blood breathing could be something similar to those two cases, where he can manipulate his organs, move them around to dodge fatal blows, and when he flexes, he can stitch himself together, and perhaps he could be more durable, right? And perhaps the actual movements can be pretty unpredictable and kind of all about maneuvering, similar to love breathing or even flower breathing a little bit. Unpredictable movements, waving around because blood is a liquid. And perhaps since Gyutaro is also a violent person, it can have a sense of violence about it, right? Perhaps he doesn't even go for the neck. Perhaps he just goes for like just thrashing his opponents, right, the demons, and really like he wants to make demons suffer. Hack and slash and hack and slash. He don't even go for the neck. He just wants to hack and slash, right? Just aggressive, unpredictable movements that really speaks to Gyutaro's violent persona. And there you have it. That is my list for turning all the current upper moons with some honorable mentions and Muzan to Hashiras, or you know, demon slayers at least. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about my list down in the comments. Am I cooking? Am I not cooking? Did I overcook, undercook? What would you change about my list? Would you completely redo it or pick it apart and maybe make some minor changes? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments. And while you're down there commenting, make sure to like and subscribe to join GLD and to let me know you like this type of content. Helps the channel grow, helps the content grow, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss the content that you literally like. And last but not least, of course, tell a friend or family member. It could be anybody. Helps the channel grow, helps the content grow, and so you don't have to watch alone. It could be your brother, sister, niece, nephew, son, daughter, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, granddad. My name is Goldie, aka GLD, and that's all we got for today. So bye bye.